Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Imagine just for a second trying to express yourself, tell your life story, or even just share a joke without your smartphone, without paper, and without a single written word. It sounds literally impossible to us today, right? But that is exactly the reality our ancient ancestors faced. Today we're going to explain a really fascinating chapter of human history, one that Class 11 students spend a lot of time with: prehistoric rock paintings. We are traveling way back to prehistory, long before books or documents were a thing, to see exactly how the very first storytellers left their incredible mark on the world.
So you gotta wonder, how on earth did humans keep records before paper was even a thing? How do we know anything at all about their lives? Well, the answer is actually in the dirt and on the walls. Through some incredibly careful excavation over the years, archaeologists have pieced together old tools, bones, and most importantly for us, these brilliant drawings on cave walls. These prehistoric rock paintings act kind of like a primal diary. They're a dynamic visual record of what these people saw, what they hunted, and just how they lived their day-to-day lives. There's a quote from our source material that really hits the nail on the head here. It says, "When the basic needs of food, water, clothing, and shelter were fulfilled, people felt the need to express themselves." It's just human nature. Once early humans secured their basic survival, they weren't starving or freezing, they didn't just sit around. They immediately turned to the cave walls, using them as a canvas to create literally the oldest art forms ever practiced by human beings. Okay, so here's our roadmap to give you a really comprehensive summary of the chapter. We'll start with art before the written word, move to early discoveries in Lakhudiyar, and then explore the crown jewel, Bhimbetka. After that, we'll map out Paleolithic versus Mesolithic art, look at their ancient tools and colors, and finally wrap up with why these paintings absolutely still matter today.
All right, part one, art before the written word, the dawn of human expression. Okay, get this. The timeline here is actually mind-blowing. We're talking about the Old Stone Age, or the Paleolithic Age, which is when this thrilling explosion of artistic activity first took root. But here is the crazy part. The very first discovery of rock paintings in India happened way back in 1867 to 1868. An archaeologist named Archibald Carlyle made this groundbreaking find a full 12 years before the incredibly famous Altamira caves were discovered in Spain. That puts India right at the absolute forefront of early human art discoveries.
Moving right along to part two, early discoveries and Lakhudiyar, exploring the One Lakh Caves. So, Lakhudiyar literally translates to One Lakh Caves. Found on the banks of the river Suil in Uttarakhand, this site perfectly showcases the foundational art style of the era. The humans here are represented in very basic stick-like forms. The early artists used these simple palettes of black, red ochre, and white to document the vibrant world they saw around them. But they weren't just drawing simple stick figures. Oh no, the motifs at Lakhudiyar are incredibly quirky and specific. We're talking a long-snouted animal, a fox, and even a multiple-legged lizard. And alongside the wildlife, they were drawing these wavy lines, groups of dots, and rectangle-filled geometric designs. It really shows how creatively early humans were recording the strange creatures and the fascinating patterns they encountered in their daily environment. Next up, Section 3, Bhimbetka, the prehistoric canvas, Madhya Pradesh's crown jewel. Think about the geography for a second. Bhimbetka sits right in the lush Vindhya ranges in Madhya Pradesh. It was famously discovered in 1957-58 by the eminent archaeologist V.S. Wakankar. And honestly, this location was absolutely prime real estate for Stone Age life. The area was packed with thick forests, wild plants, fruits, and fresh streams. It's exactly where you'd want to set up camp if you were an early human, which is exactly why it holds the largest and most spectacular rock shelters in the region, spanning 10 square kilometers with hundreds of caves just covered in magnificent paintings. Section 4. A mind map of Paleolithic versus Mesolithic, the evolution of art. So to easily distinguish these two massive periods, let's break it down. The Upper Paleolithic period featured huge, linear representations of massive animals like bison and tigers, primarily using green for dancers and dark red for hunters. But then, as we transition into the Mesolithic period, the art just explodes with detail. The paintings actually become smaller, but they feature much more naturalistic animals and stylistic humans. They also started using a way wider variety of colors, with white and red being their absolute favorites. And they shifted their subjects to these complex hunting scenes, community dances, and vivid snapshots of daily family life. When you compare the simple, hand-linked dancers from Lakhudiyar directly with a vibrant, complex community dancing scene from Bhimbetka Mesolithic period, the contrast is night and day. It vividly highlights the evolution of their themes. They went from simple stick figure lines to bustling, energetic celebrations that genuinely feel like a lively prehistoric community gathering.
Part 5. Ancient Tools and Colors, the Chemistry of Prehistoric Paint.
Okay, so we know what they painted, but how exactly did they make these beautiful works of art without, a modern art supply store down the street? The sheer ingenuity of early humans is amazing. They were basically the very first chemists. They sourced their red colors from a mineral called hematite, which is commonly known as garu in India. Green came from chalcedony stone and white from limestone. They would painstakingly grind these rocks into a fine powder. And here's the absolute genius part. To make the paint stick to the cave walls, they mix that powder with water and sticky binders like animal fat or tree resin. They even crafted their own precision brushes out of plant fibers.
But honestly, here is perhaps the most mind-blowing scientific fact of this entire explainer. How did these paintings survive thousands of years of harsh, extreme weather? Well, the secret is a chemical reaction. The colors remained entirely intact because the minerals in the paint reacted chemically with the oxides that are naturally present on the surface of the rocks. Nature itself literally locked their artwork into the stone.
Finally, Section 6, Why These Paintings Matter, the Legacy of Early Humans.
You've really got to wonder, why put in all that back-breaking physical effort for this? Well, the locations they chose reveal a ton of dedication. Some of the most beautiful paintings are located uncomfortably high up on rock shelters or right against the ceilings. Painting in such awkward, dangerous positions proves they weren't just casually decorating their living rooms, right? These spots were likely of profound sacred or religious importance. They wanted these specific stories to be noticed from a distance, elevating them from just mere drawings to powerful, enduring cultural symbols.
Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.